Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to Life Discussions with Dr. Jefferson. I'm your host, Dr. Jefferson, and I decided to switch it up a little bit today. I'm going to do my show fairly early today, and then, if necessary, I will restream it for those of you who missed it later on tonight because I will not be on later on tonight due to some previous obligations or whatever. However, um, it's going to be a pretty interesting conversation today. I'm going to kind of give you guys kind of an idea of what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the Violent Engagement and Crime Index rising in New York. To be specifically, I want to focus on that one city because they are now experiencing something that I saw about a month ago or so in Atlanta. And I wanted to share that with you guys. And we're going to talk about how that applies to arguments and missed opportunities for growth and maturation. We're going to talk about options for emotional expression and better ways for us to engage in communication that's more healthy today. And we're going to talk about the impact of quarantine and COVID-19 on people making viable connections and divesting from connecting effectively with one another. Of course, we're going to get into rejection conversations because it has a lot to do with the aforementioned things that lead to a very high emotional response that is violent from people. And we're going to focus on higher power conversations. I feel like in times like this, so many people are experiencing so many things. And amongst the so many things, or amidst those many things that people are experiencing, we forget sometimes to give validity to the fact that people in times of distress do things that don't make a lot of sense. But in the long run, people typically will cycle back and make sense and make better choices. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to give you guys some quick social distance dating techniques. And then we'll answer a generalized question that was submitted for weigh-in about ghosting and men using that kind of as a means nowadays instead of having a collaborative conversation with women that they find they don't align themselves with properly to get away from women or whatever. And women do the same thing, though. So we're going to talk about this. I look forward to the discussion, and I will see you guys in about 3 minutes. Let's go ahead and jump into these disclaimers, and I'll see you back in a moment. So welcome back, you guys. So welcome to Life Discussions with Dr. Jefferson. This is I guess a preview, right? Because technically the show for Life Discussions with Dr. Jefferson airs on Monday nights. It is Monday afternoon. I want to invite you guys on this September 13th to share your thoughts and reflections on this video later on today when it re-airs for those, and just know that most of you will not catch this video live. But I do want to give a huge shout out to the chat, because all of the love and support and the subscriptions and people who are now patrons of the show and supporters and regular members of the show, you guys are amazing, and I appreciate the girth of support. It shows me that this is very much needed space. And I'm really excited to be bringing this content, this difficult conversation and all of that, aside. I'm really excited to be bringing this content to you guys regularly. This particular conversation, I think, is one that is very much needed, because so many people have been talking about the lack of congruence and a lack of emotional stability of people as a result of the pandemic. And we saw crime indexes go up amongst our communities pretty much everywhere. We've seen crime increase across the board. Why? Because people sometimes struggle with viable means to, resolve their conflict, whether it's internal or external. And when we're struggling with the resolution of internal conflict, typically we externalize our emotional expression, and it causes violent responses to people who typically wouldn't even get any response at all from us. So we're seeing a lot of that, but we're also seeing crime of opportunity increase, and crimes against people who are trying to speak out against the crime syndicates, right? Crime gang mobs and things like that, people they're going to or due to testify against in court. We're seeing those people be killed. So recently, there was an article posted in the New York Times around the increase in crime, gun violence in New York, and the fact that New York would be considering returning to their otherwise shaded, slighted, and disputed practices of taking down gangs. One of the main reasons people are against that type of tactic is because they say that then it looks like the police and the authorities are focusing in primarily on Black communities. As a person who is not from New York, this kind of led to me doing a little bit more deep-seated investigation, kind of going into it, looking into where the crime is happening, what are the populations of people there, having those things kind of guide my exploration into what's really going on in New York. Because we recently, as I mentioned in the pre-show, experienced a similar increase in crimes, gun violent related crimes here in Atlanta. But so what I found is that those particular areas that are experiencing these influx of gun violence and crimes and people dying as a result of, inadequately being able to engage one another and resolve conflict, those are Black neighborhoods. And when I say Black neighborhoods, I mean Black and brown people. So that's also Hispanic people. And one sec, I'm going to read you guys a couple of headliners just from the last 72 hours. Okay. So I want you guys to just listen. Okay. And take light of this. So on 9/11, you got 2 people killed and 2 people injured in an overnight New York City shooting. This was published 2 days ago. This is the one with the 57-year-old man was shot in the face in East Harlem at about 1:35 in the morning. Okay. Then we also have the 38-year-old man shot and killed in an early morning Brooklyn playground slaying. That was a day ago. Yesterday, Sunday. Playground. Playground is where you typically take your kids, right? Then we have a teen killed and another person injured in a shooting on the haunted hayride attraction. That's the one that pretty much made national news. I think it was Saturday. Um, or was it yesterday morning? Yeah, yesterday morning it was on national news. Okay. Then we have the Harlem woman that was slain in a lover's quarrel in Queens. And a man was also killed during that time as well. Okay. Then we have the pregnant woman who left her baby shower yesterday, who was attempting to break up a fight, and she was shot and killed. Let me know when it's resonating. Then we have another man who was fatally shot at a party near Rockaway Beach Boardwalk in New York yesterday. And we also have the huge one that made on Fox News of the New York City guy who was shot. And they're saying that this was more than likely a hitman. And I agree, because the victim had $10,000 in his pocket. And then the way that the camera footage shows the person that was allegedly working on the car, right, or supposedly working on his car and kind of watching for the victim to come in on the scene. It was definitely a setup, and I would say it was hit. It was definitely a hit. And then I guess I'm asking the question, why would someone have $10,000 in their pocket? What do you think about that?
That's the culture. That's the culture these young folks adapted to. But you see on TV, people holding lots of money to where it shows some data similar or some crap.
But $10,000 though?
In the mall, Atlantic, you see the young boy, all his money in his pocket, like they can fall out.
That ain't no $10,000.
I mean, but it was so big, well, it may not have been, but that's the same concept. You want everybody, you got 10,000 or whatever, how many thousand maybe?
Nobody ever took the money either. So the $10,000 was found on his body, on this person, and he was shot in the head, point blank range. So, in the person, there's nothing wrong with the car. It was a clear hit. I think it was.
They want the money. They want him.
Exactly. So I want you guys to kind of take notice of this, like for that to all of that to happen in 72. And these are just the major crimes that made national news. This isn't the stuff that is still a part of their regular crime report index, because there was another shooting that wasn't mentioned in these particular ones that I ran down. That happened overnight last night. And a man was found shot to death at a corner and unresponsive. Should I say he was found shot and unresponsive, but he still had a faint heartbeat. They transported him to the hospital where they were unable to save him. So, I mean, there is just a whole lot. And I think that what it says is that we are having a tremendous amount of stress and pressure around resolving conflict. Okay. So arguments can be extremely helpful if we allow them to. If we do not allow them to be helpful, they can't help us, and we can't help anybody. So arguments are engaging in conversations or in interactions with other people that lead to communication where two people don't agree or don't see eye to eye on a particular point. So if we're having a discussion about how you feel very heavily about what you believe in, I feel very heavily about what I believe in. And if we're allowing ourselves to mature through the process, we're taking into account what it is that we're saying that we feel so that we can move our understanding to a different level. Now, if we are communicating with the intention to understand a person, that says that we are in our regular, healthy state of mind, and we're able to do these things. But what happens is traditionally people become extremely volatile and disrespectful when they don't feel heard or acknowledged or validated when people are trying to communicate with them. And as a result, things can get pretty heated pretty fast. Okay. So, what I want to say is this: let's not miss an opportunity to grow into a place of elevated understanding. Let's try and practice more viable means of, you know, de escalating hostile situations and communicating in a way that respects other people's expression of whatever their emotions are, whatever their thoughts are, whatever their feelings are, excuse me, on the conversation at hand. So I asked the question in the description: who taught you how to argue, right? What are some of the things that you find to be meaningful and useful when you engage in an argument with other people? Who taught you the purpose of arguments? Who asked you to give them a perspective that you would think they would not agree on so that you could practice these things? If this hasn't happened in your history, whether in school or at home or whatever, you then have to practice with yourself first, and then have conversations with the people that you trust the most and invite them to share their perspectives on the way that you present your arguments. Sometimes these things will be healthy, and we'll get a tremendous amount of feedback and insight on the fact that we are being able to convey a message effectively to other people, even when people don't agree with us. Hey, Mr. Brooks, how are you? But sometimes we'll learn that we really need a lot of work. Okay. And that's okay. What we need to practice is receiving people's criticisms, even if they're very difficult to receive, and being able to apply those criticisms in a way that allows us to have better or a more effective means to communicate with one another on the outset or after that conversation. So we have the propensity to mature into a different space every time we give ourselves an opportunity to engage in an argument. But those arguments can be only as healthy as we allow them to. When things become hostile, we need to learn how to take a step back and walk away, or take a step back and look at what's happening in the argument where we're missing understanding, and try to reseat ourselves, recalibrate our energy so that we can get to try and understanding people's in their position, right? So emotional expression is a part of the process. Oftentimes when we're in an argument and we find ourselves getting heated, whether it's an intimate partner or a person on the streets that we're rolling dice with, or whatever, we're trying to express the way that we feel about whatever event or something that's taking place in the moment. Okay. So if we learn to first recognize what's really going on for us, we can really express ourselves in a way that doesn't seem invasive or offensive to a person, even if they're not in a healthy emotional space or state of being. So what I recognize is that that long list of violent crime that I just mentioned happening in New York over the last 72 hours, that long list of people being shot and killed, shot and injured. We've got to do a better job at expressing our emotions that are responses to the situations that are unfolding around us. The young lady who was pregnant and shot in the head, trying to break that fight up, I have so many questions around that, because it speaks to so many levels of what do we see as conducive to our overall game when it comes to us resolving conflict and what we see as our responsibilities. So if a woman is pregnant, and if we just go back to the natural congruence in a woman, if you're pregnant, you should feel like you have a innate need or responsibility to protect your child that's growing inside of you. So if people are engaged in a physical fight and you feel like you want to break that up, saying things to them are more effective than you injecting yourself into that situation, right? Additionally, calling the police, right?
First thing first.
Like, what do you think about that? Like, when you hear something like that, do you naturally, and I'm going to ask you guys the same question, okay? So if you're catching me on the replay and you end up catching the show tonight when it's going to replay, just make sure you let me know you're catching it on the replay, but also give me your answer to this. What's your first indication when you hear that a woman was shot in the head as a result of her trying to break up a fight between two people? Says, this week I have seen so many murders by women. It's sad, for real, for real. I agree. And we have to ask ourselves what that says about the way our women see their position and their responsibility, and also their impact in our community. But so what is the first thing that you think, like, when you hear a story like that? And I want you guys to be very candid, because we have to, in order for us to have or find meaningful ways to resolve the issues that are happening in the Black and brown community, we first got to call a thing a thing. The first thing that comes to mind for me is not that, oh, I wonder what the race of that person was. The first thing that comes to mind is that, man, we as a Black and brown people have to do better. That's before even seeing the person involved. Like that, and having to come to that truth, you guys, let me tell you something. That's probably one of the most difficult things that I have had to do in the past couple of years. Coming to the truth of the matter of, man, there are no guesses, no assumptions to be made. I'm certain that this was a Black person. I'm certain that this was a melanated person, because for me, melanated people are Black people. So Hispanic people, right? So you're Puerto Rican, you're Mexican, Honduran, all of these folks, Ecuadorian, all of these folks, we're all the same. We have very similar responses, very similar cultural conditionings and things like that to play to the way that we see life. And one of the things that stands out for me is the fact that even though we try and draw a line of delineation in the sand around the way that, Hispanic women handle their men, there is still so many things about the way that we condition our men across the board that says that we are one and the same, the way that we definitely ingrain in the man that he can't express himself emotionally. So you can't cry. You can't be a wimp. You can't feel sad about that. Oh, somebody, turned you down. That's their loss. There's something wrong with them. We have to be more honest with ourselves so we can be honest with the people that we're responsible for cultivating, which are our children. Mr. Brooks says, I think she as a woman should not be involved. The walk away is powerful. Right. We have to learn how to properly divest and how to realign our energy. I thought it was really interesting that women historically have been really good at coming up with a viable solution to being in situations where Black men beat their asses and decided to walk away, decided to no longer look for men, decided to join the feminist movement even, right? Be even extreme in doing so and say, I don't need a man, right? What's wrong with Black women saying, I need to divest from engaging in situations where my physical health is in danger? My physical health, right? So what is stopping Black women from doing that, from walking away from situations that could lead to our end, our detriment? to me, it's really interesting to see how much energy the Black woman has when it comes to divesting from a man, but we can't use that same strength when it comes to protecting ourselves. And we know that we are an important, a very integral component to the survivorship of our children, our legacies, especially since Black men are now divesting. We're creating more baby mamas than ever, right? So let's talk about that component and the way that the emotional expression or the lack of congruence when it comes to emotional expressions lead to a very difficult time with men feeling their way around proper responses to rejection, and then that having a direct impact on the connections that people are making during quarantine right now. So when a person gets a confirmed positive test of COVID-19, the suggestion overall is that you quarantine for a period of time, okay? Quarantine is, we want to say it's not the same as isolation. However, people go through facing some very difficult truths through these moments. And I want to bring this up for discussion because I feel like this is something that we've not talked about in depth. And this is the way that we understand the very high amount of violent crime and how that all ties into why now, right? So the crime in the Black community has always been at an all-time high, right? It's always increased tremendously during times where opportunity is also increasing. But when we talk about the impact of people having to go into spaces and isolate themselves from other people, this situation becomes extremely volatile. So Mr. Brooks says, I left an ex because she was always putting me in danger. She wanted me to fight everyone who said something she didn't like.
Damn.
Well, that's crazy. That's crazy. Now we talk about toxic masculinity all the time, but that's a toxic femininity thing. And but I'm gonna talk more about that when we get to the conversation around men ghosting women. This one. Right? But so here is the thing. When we force people to go into spaces where they have to isolate themselves from other people physically, especially people who are very physical, right? So we know that men are very visual creatures. We know that women are extremely emotionally congruent creatures. And so when I say emotionally congruent people, it doesn't mean that men are without emotions. It means that women are people who are more effective in expressing their emotions, whether they're very matter of fact about it or they divest easily from arguments or the propensity of an argument or whatever. But they are very effective of letting the world see, this is what I'm feeling, right? So women can walk around with their emotions on their sleeve and nobody can be hit, be unknowing of or unaware of what their emotions are. But so with men being very physical, very visual and things like that, if we really look at that, when a man sees a woman and he's very much attracted to a woman, he wants to physically connect with a woman. Do you guys agree? Do you agree with that?
Oh yeah.
So depending on the level of intensity, when we talk about attractiveness that the man has to the woman, that physical connection could look a lot of ways. He could want to approach her, physically shake her hand, hug her, do more than that, jump her bones, as one of my followers said at some point. He could want to do all of that. So what happens is when he finds himself rejected by this woman, he's now forced to be in a place to where he has to go back and ask himself, is there something wrong with me? Because we internalize first, right? And that is there something wrong with me after a man has been rejected so many times leads to him not processing this stuff, because that's not what he's going to do, internalizing this stuff. And then the next person that comes along and pisses him off, that's where we see that physical response, that aggression coming out that looks like they're responding to the situation that's at hand, but they really aren't. They're really responding to an influx of emotional flooding. So it's just really too much for them to deal with. They don't want to deal with and tell the woman, hey, you hurt my feelings. You know what I'm saying? Like, I really was into you. I really was feeling you. I want to touch you, feel you, be with you. Instead of being emotionally expressive men in that way and manipulating their way into a relationship with a woman, because they do it. They would rather take their hostility and their emotional incongruence out on the next man that happens to look at them wrong, say the wrong thing, or be sharing space with another woman maybe that they previously tried to connect with. Oh, my dog is chasing his bowl. Good grief. But so that in and of itself leads to the increased amount of violence. Like, they're dealing with a lot, right? And they don't know what to do with that lot of emotion that they're dealing with. So what I always say, the best thing to do is to find meaningful ways to externalize those emotional components that are driving that hostility, the anger, emotional incongruence, frustration inside of our men. And women, we have to learn how to be more supportive. And when we talk about rejection in a moment, I'm probably going to talk more specifically about compassion as it relates to rejection, but too much compassion in rejection can sometimes cause more issues than not, and make a man feel like he's being led on. And that can be also equally dangerous for his other communications or communication attempts with other people in the society. So he said, sorry to say, a lot of Black women love drama and combative. I have no problem defending a woman, but if a woman start ish, I gotta walk away. Yeah, I feel like it is what it is. But so forcing people into dark spaces, isolative spaces, where you're pushing them away from people when they're very connected people, when they do come back into connection with people, right, with other people, they become a volatile component. Also, one of the things that we're really not taking into consideration is the fact that with all of these different mutations of COVID-19 strands, it's also having a significant psychological impact on the people who are struggling with COVID-19. Even if they have no other symptoms, it definitely is starting to cause more psychosis or insecurities in people, delusional behavior, hallucinations, auditory and visual. We're seeing more people act out of their regular character, and it could be to the isolated components, and people coming into the truth of realizing that the people they thought were very much there for them are really not there for them at all. And those are very difficult truths to face, especially when you're in quarantine and you can't even leave and go and confront a person like, ooh, right? That's a lot. So let's talk about the question for the day. Okay. So a viewer asked me, what are my thoughts about men ghosting women? Instead of, and I'm going to go into detail about all of the, the things that kind of that email entail. So this young lady says that she has been having a very difficult time with dating men. And she feels like one of the main things is that men don't know how to follow up, right? And she had a conversation with a couple of her friends, and her friends are telling her that it's not that the men aren't following up, but they are truly ghosting her. And this young lady, she went on in this email about the fact that she doesn't have any kids. She's in her mid-30s and she's trying to build something solid, blah, blah, blah. This is what I want to say, because I know that a lot of you have been following me for a while, and I had Fear Coach D'Amicos on here. And he talked about his dating experiences, and we've done a follow-up where I talked about the email interaction that he had with a woman. He was conducting a social experiment. D'Amico's, if you're out there, if you're watching, just know you just like the world's largest catfish when it comes to online dating. Okay, you're making life hard, not only for yourself but the people you're trying to engage in. So, but I got that out there. Here's the thing: when you're meeting people online, right? Sometimes it could be very difficult for you to properly connect and engage with them. Now, when you feel safe to physically connect with them, I don't know if you guys are using a whole bunch of filters on these videos or what, but if you are, stop using the filters, because maybe that can decrease the propensity for you to be ghosted, because sometimes men are seeing you for who you really are, and then they're like, your ass is not who I was talking to on the videos. Right. And so I also feel like there are behaviors like Mr. Brooks mentioned. When women are constantly putting men in compromising positions, because that goes to the conversation I had with my daughter. If you're constantly putting men in situations where they feel uncomfortable, they feel unseated as a man, they feel emasculated as a man, you want to pay your own bill. Okay, I invited you on a date. I'm looking to being with you, and you don't want me to be a man. You want to do the man stuff. You want to pull your own chair out. You want to open your own door. You want to pay for the meal, our meal. Okay. Men need to feel needed in the relationships. They need to feel needed. They need to feel adequately supported. They need to feel like they're in a viable situation that leads to legacy lines being built, longevity, and stability. These are things that men need, okay, in relationships. Women need to feel protected, provided for, loved, desired. They need these things. They need to feel like they are in a relationship with another person for a reason. Right. And so when they don't feel these things, we've already talked about the influx of people who do not know how to appropriately gauge conversation, how to appropriately gauge even what emotions they're going through over the course of time being with a person. If you add a pandemic to that situation and you're meeting these people online and then in person after they've already invested so much time and then at that point money into you, sometimes it can be so disappointing that they don't know what to say. They don't have the words. And so they have to ghost you. Or sometimes you can be so violent and volatile, like Mr. Brooks mentioned. You're in a relationship with a person and they want you to whoop somebody's ass every time. Girl, that wig is not for you. Oh, girl, that's the wrong color lace for you. Oh, girl, your makeup look terrible. Oh, girl, your ass look fake. And you want somebody to go out there. You want this man to now fight this woman. I would be ghosting you too. Men have to know when to walk away, but I think that sometimes, and I'm just going to be honest, in this day and age in general, there is an influx of emotional avoidance, all right? So we avoid those emotional conversations that say we are further interested in the person, we're still invested and want to go forward, or we're not interested at all and we want to explore other options. And I don't really know why you guys do it. You let me know. Well, happy Motivational Monday to you too, official urban therapist. How do you feel about men ghosting women? Do you feel like that's a necessary thing in certain circumstances? But so I feel like, you guys have got to get to the business of resolution, right? So think about it. If you're vetting a person, to date them, right? So you guys can move into courtship. During that time, you could be asking them some generalized questions that may lead to your better understanding, if you met them online, of what they really look like. Okay. So the looks won't be the point that turns you away or makes you ghost them, at least. I think that people need to lessen the propensity of toxic behavior. Okay. That's the one thing. The second thing is, let's say I feel that it's a crime against nature. I think the second thing is you need to, what did you do this week? You ghosted somebody? Good God. You need to engage in conversations that lead to you being on video with a person. Okay. Being on video outside of FaceTime, because they can only use the filters on FaceTime, right? I think so.
Yeah, you might be more
They can use it on Zoom too. Like I'm really exploring the option.
I know that.
Yeah, so FaceTime is iPhone. Can Google Duo use face filters?
I don't think Google or Venmo, I don't think they do it. I don't think they do that.
Well, you guys are very tech savvy, so figure that. WhatsApp, because I use WhatsApp.
I don't know if they do it on that one either.
So the ghosting you feel is needed based on the situation. I do feel like there are situations that warrant moments where men have to go swimming, because considering what we started this show off with, ladies can sometimes be a detriment to the health and the life of a man in these day and ages. So men need to protect themselves. And it's terrible to have to say that, but it is. How was she trying to use you for food?
They can buy her lunch every day, I guess.
Okay, sir, go buy me lunch. Look, I need women. You gotta feed her. But then again, she also needs to cook. Mm-mm. But elaborate for me. Tell me what you mean by she was trying to use you for food. But so my thoughts are, sometimes it's necessary to ghost women. I think sometimes it's necessary to ghost men, because men can be whole creeps out here. I think there is a higher propensity for men to be creeps and stalkers than there are for women to do the same, because women aren't natural hunters. That doesn't mean that you don't have a couple of huntresses out there trying to live their best life. Okay.
Yeah, I told you.
Every time she comes, she was hungry. Well, she might have a very high metabolism.
She want to pay the bill for the food. I know he look at that. I knew something like that. They do that too.
What you mean?
They just want to go out and eat on you. They want you to buy it. They want the free meal. They want to pick out it.
So okay. So this is let's just get to this. So
that they were dating.
What's happening on the date where she's trying to get this free meal?
That's the purpose of calling you. That's the purpose of calling you.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. What's happening on the date? What are y'all doing on the date?
You just want that meal. You just there to pay for it.
So it's no conversation?
Yeah, but you know what? It's going nowhere. She know it, and you know it too. It's just about the meal. It's about the restaurant. It's a
oh God, you guys
are like, she don't want to pay for it. She wants somebody to take her that's safe and not,
So you think that she's already ruled it out that he's a serial killer?
She won't go to a restaurant she don't want to pay for.
Okay.
It can't be expensive. It can be anywhere. She hasn't been that big. I went through that. I know how they go. You right about that.
You went through that?
Every time they call they hungry.
Oh no, I think you use people in the capacity in which they are slotted in your life. So I think that if it's your man, I think that if it's your man, he's responsible for a couple of things. If it's your woman, she's responsible for a couple of things.
At that point, she ain't nothing to you, but somebody trying to know. That's just how the
So during the dating process, but not where you are courting her and still dating her.
Then that become a thing that what y'all do together anyway, because that's part of y'all. You know,
right.
But that dating thing, I can see the mile away the one won't pick you up, won't do this, all that. He right about that.
Why can't she be a woman that's just trying to try new options and want to try them with a nice looking man?
That's the conversation. You know all about the restaurant. It ain't about they doing all this on the phone. They all this extra.
Hold on. He said, it was never, I'm just checking on you. Never, how are you? Just, can you bring me some food? Whoa. Well, yeah, you're right. If you're saying bring me some food, you're right. Maybe. Well, wait. What's her work schedule look like?
No matter.
Am I looking for excuses for her? Not really. But I am curious. What does her work schedule look like? Because I think that has a lot to do with things too. It's understood that the man normally would pay for the meal. Normally, women pay for their own meal if they are not comfortable doing the date. Really?
Well, I had one try to name by 4 dates on one date.
I mean, I've paid for dates, but if I paid for a date, it was because I felt like the man was a creep and I didn't want him feeling like, I lured him out to pay for my meal because my meals are expensive. I like to eat places where, it might cost you a little more money than what you want to spend on a meal because I'm very selective on if I'm going to eat out. It's got to be a place that has an open kitchen and they're not, doing no crazy stuff up in there. Ain't spitting in my food, that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah, she got you on a picnic on too. That you eat food. She had food now.
Well, if she's got disability, she has food stamps, right?
Not necessarily, not enough. Not
oh my God, y'all! Let me tell y'all, this man.
Don't take no food stamps, so
Oh.
No.
So y'all can't use, because it's West. I don't know.
Can't use that in those Stony Rivers or what you saying?
Well, it's.
No, you got to use somebody like me or him to do that.
Good God. Well, okay, Mr. Brooks, maybe you're right. Yeah. But I don't agree. I don't think you should have ghosted her. I think in that situation, it's not like she's putting your life in danger or nothing like that. Like, I think you should have been having a conversation just saying, hey, I feel like, you're using me for free meals. Like, I'm not the meal delivery person.
That's what you see.
And so I no longer want to go forward and dating you. I'm not interested. But the other part is I feel like men need more adequate means of expressing their discontent with whatever it is that a woman is doing that makes them want to move to another place or be with another person.
Well, I understand why.
Why?
That happens because most of the time men are not argumentative creatures by nature.
Mm-hmm.
To avoid the argument, they will go through every time because they know they're not going to win the argument no way, no matter what they say. So they would just stop calling. Ain't no talking. It's over with. I mean, that's how they do. See, I told you, when you stop on take food, I told you. I told you.
You're a mess. I can't with you guys. Y'all men cutting up today.
I told you.
The official urban therapist said Mr. Brooks or her own Uber Eats. Yes, good God.
I'm telling you now. Right.
But you could have told her that. I feel like you could have told her that. I really do. Here's the thing. And I was having a conversation. I'm not gonna mention his name, but I was having a conversation with another male a couple of days ago, and he was telling me about a date that he had gone on with a female. And there are some situations, you guys, and I'm going to be just very candid with you. There are some situations where I feel like men should definitely divest from the type of women that are very toxic in their femininity. And that's what I was also talking about, Mr. Brooks. So there are different types of toxic femininity, just like we talk about toxic masculinity. So women who are overly pushing to go out all the time and they want you to pay all the time, but they're the ones suggesting to go out.
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying?
Got a list of stuff you want to take.
The first thing is this: if a woman is rested in her femininity, then and properly rested in her femininity, the first thing she's not going to do, she's not asking you for any dates. We're not doing that because that's a man's job. It's a man's job to ask you on a date, take you on a date, treat you on a date, treat you like a queen, open up the doors, whatever, all of that stuff. Those are his things that he has to do. And so a man knows what his financial situation is, and he's not going to be asking you to go out on these dates if he can't pay for it. Okay. So as a woman, you need to be asking yourself, am I still interested in this man? Am I still invested in this man in the process of getting to a courtship, with this man potentially, right? And if you feel like you're not, or you're not sure, then you need to be the woman to say, you know what? I think that we need to just have us a date at a park. Let's take a walk, or a date on an app, video chat, and let's talk. You know what I mean? Let's get to know each other a little better, because there is some ambivalence for me. Like, I think I'm interested in you, but I'm not quite sure, right? So I want to make sure. In order for me to make sure, I need to have a conversation with you to see whether or not we need to move forward, or if we need to just digress and say, hey, this ain't it. And so women have to learn how to encompass proper discernment so that these types of things, men ghosting them, don't happen. And also, men, let me tell you something. Here's a little piece of knowledge for you. Whenever a woman brings her friend in on a date, she's not that into you. I'm just going to be honest. I've done that several times. When a man is, if I'm constantly turning you down and you're constantly, oh, well, let me just, sir, I'm not interested. Let me buy you a bottle. I just want to buy you a bottle. I just want to buy you this. I want to buy you that. When you're out on the scene and you're meeting people, that's happened to me tons of times when I just kind of went through that whole thing, my bucket list, and I went to clubs and, what do you call those, lounging spots or whatever in Atlanta. I had a lot of men who were very, very persistent. And so that's what I used to do. I used to just push them on to my friends, kind of like a thing. It's kind of like ghosting, but you're in person, so you can't really disappear. I'm not Houdini or no shit like that. So my thing is, if somebody expresses they're not interested, you got to learn how to take a back seat. Or if you think that, okay, she's just playing hard to get or whatever, find other means to get to her. Buy her some edible arrangements and send them to her, flowers, send them to her with a nice little note, whatever it is. And then look for a response that says that she is interested, and or does invite your courtship or, your investment in her. And so then move forward. But women have to do a better job at properly governing themselves and then properly discerning whether or not they're interested in men, so that men don't have to ghost them. Okay. That's how I feel. So let's run back Mr. Brooks' comment, though. Work 2 jobs comment. Since I work 2 jobs, I don't have time to explain to a grown woman I'm rebuilding my life at 39. I don't have time for games. My time is important to me. But it's part of your process. So the thing is, you don't want to taint your dating reputation. Said the sad thing, she shot her shot at me. I was like, wow. That probably should have been the number one indicator. But no, and I'm not saying, because I do understand that this is a age where women are shooting their shots more so than men. I just don't believe in it. Says no, you were a professional curver.
You keep going in.
But I tried to let the man know that I was not interested. So I think that when you do make an attempt and that attempt is not received by that other person, I think then there is kind of like a window for understanding that, that person may need to divest from you and send in the replacement team, because that's what I would do. But so let's talk about rejection, right? And the proper ways to do it. I know I just mentioned a couple of good pointers. However, I think also we have to be people that embrace rejection and understand that, it's good for us. So if a person is adequately encompassing good communication practices and letting us know, hey, you know what? We've gone on a couple of dates and I really thought that we were going somewhere, but on the last day you did XYZ. And I told you I'm not into that. Let me give you a real example, because I think real examples sometimes work a lot better than the hypotheticals that are just kind of out there. So let's just say you went on a date with a chick and this is like the fourth date. So after the first date, you decide that, okay, this could be something. Gonna go on another one. Second date, vibing. Oh my God, she might be the one. Third date, man, she is like a godsend. I like this woman. I think I'm ready to make it a relationship. Let's just see. Go on another date. Show up to that date. All of a sudden, everything that you were praising, from her physical presentation to her conversation, the way she handles herself, the way that she governs herself, and all of that, right? And you get there and she looked like a whole streetwalker. The length of her skirt is way too short. She bent over, she gonna show the whole world everything that was there. You praying that she got draws on. So now you're there, you've connected. You still have all of these feelings that you guys are really connected, right? So then you sit down to have the conversation with her, because you've been having great conversation with her. You guys have been connecting on a impossible scale, right? And so now you see her looking in the corner and you're like, damn, what's she looking at? Like, we were just conversing. Like, what are you looking at now? What's in the corner? And then you hear her say, oh yeah, oh yeah, we're over here. Right? So her friend starts to move in. All of a sudden, this unknown woman you don't know about, haven't talked about, she hasn't mentioned nothing, just comes and sits down at the table with you guys on your date, right? And now they're both in your company. You're like, damn, we were just having a really good conversation. I don't know what this is. Like, okay, well, let me just make the best out of a great opportunity. Maybe she wants to introduce me to her friend because, like, she feels like I'm the one too. Maybe she wants to get some outside opinions of the people who, you know,
They do that.
yeah, are making sure that she's good. Because this is something that women do.
Yeah, they do.
Healthy women will make very small, you know, attempts to introduce you to people in their life very systematically, and let those people kind of weigh in what they think about the energy, because you need an external view, just to see if you're missing anything, right? So let's say while you're in conversation, you're like, let's hope the friend got her own money, right? And then the friend starts talking about, girl, I lost my wallet. Like, I was down that street. What happened to it? Like, I just I don't know what to do. And she's like, okay, well, let's just order something that we can both share. I know you got to be hungry. Girl, I'm starving. Like, I've been out here and been looking for my wallet. I got my keys, don't know where I left the wallet, blah, blah, blah. Let's just say you're at a fairly expensive restaurant, right? So, you're like, because that's an awkward place to be in as the guy, right?
Not opinion.
Like she just showed up and then she started talking about the financial thing. Especially if you're already having the feelings about the financial component, like this bitch trying to set me up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now you got to make a decision now as a man. I'm gonna ask you guys
If
some
you prepare
things.
for it, you might feel away. So, you know,
But that's the thing. So at this point, as a man, how are you feeling on this fourth date while you guys were making great segue and you felt like she was definitely the one? You've been vibing with her all this time. At this point, where her friends just coming up all of a sudden, how are you feeling? What's going on inside of your mind?
I,
He said, "Not that I lost my wallet."
I can go for the
If we had Papa Dough and she invited somebody with her, I'm out. Papa Dough is not that bad. It's okay. I don't know. I'm not a seafood person, but I look at the prices versus other seafood places. I've been with my friends who eat seafood. I eat chicken at those places when I go because I just don't eat seafood. But so
I kind of see where it goes before I make a decision on that because I'll see if it's a coincidence, but it's set up as a part of her vetting process.
yeah, but what are you doing though? Like, what's your process going to look like as you're trying to find out what's going on? Because damn waiter coming back in a minute, so you got to make some tough decisions in a very small window of time.
Quick decisions on judging how it looks, asking specific questions right then, to kind of see how they came up, how you know where you at, and how she all that come up. So what? Were you just in the neighborhood? What you got? Oh, you just out
Yeah, she answered those questions already though.
You know, so
she was just in the neighborhood.
By me being the type of guy I am,
Mm-hmm.
I will pay for it. You know, I evaluate behind the scenes because, and you know, if I think it's gonna impact me versus help me, I will cut it off.
Hold on, let's look at some of these
You know, I'll
comments.
see how they go.
And then I'm gonna see what y'all are gonna do in the situation. It says there are many men and women who can't handle rejection, and I think that they can't handle rejection. The official urban therapist, simply because sometimes that rejection doesn't have enough compassion behind it. Sometimes it's not what we say, it's how we say. It's not what we do, it's how we do. So if you're out there and you're dating, you know that you're single, right? You know that rejection is a part of the process. And we know that rejection can be very helpful for us. We can move into spaces to where we're realigned with our purpose and our passion and the correct type of people. If we have rejection that happens and we receive it from a place, a very secure spot, in our lives, and we apply what it is that they're giving us appropriately to our future encounters.
You read my mind right now.
Says, if this is happening, I would excuse myself to the restroom and leave. I actually did this before. What? No.
Yeah. Why they ordered? I wouldn't come back. I picked that for
after you have this. Wait, maybe you're missing all the rest of it. So after you've decided that this woman is the woman for you, your previous dates have been amazing. Your energy has been amazing.
It's like you said, if you ain't feeling her, you're trying to feel her process.
No, you're not feeling her process. You have made your mind up that you're ready before this date tonight. Before you invited her on a date, you made your mind up that this is the woman that potentially you want to marry. That she's it for you. So this final date was for you.
What I would if I can't, I can't.
Okay, so it's just about being able to pay for it though for you, or is it about something else? Like for you, what's there?
It can't be that way. That's what it be about because she expects me to pay for it. If I can't, I will. If I can't, I can't. You know, because I'm with her already. So like when your friend would come up, I would be glad to pay for Tuesday a meal.
Yeah, but that you know her.
I mean, if I didn't know her, like someone I met in South Carolina, I'll be glad to pay for their meal because they connected to me to well to prove otherwise. I'm with you. That's just somebody that came along.
If we're at a high price restaurant and she invites a friend, I'm out.
Y'all don't give you priority.
Man, y'all are so honest about this. But so considering everything that I just restated, the fact that you thought that, okay, after all of these dates, you've been on 3 previous dates with her and everything has been great. On this 4th date, this happens. And my question is, are you guys considering all of that energy stuff? You know how hard it is to vibe with a person
I mean,
in these streets?
That part will shake you, but like you say, you don't make the decision. You gotta see where they're going with that. It just might, see how it goes.
It's about respect. We're on a date. I can understand if
Can't
we
jump the gun.
was at a gathering, then it would be different. So what if? Okay, so how about this? Would it be different if the woman had not shown up? Like, are you considering all factors in this? Or is it just the fact that she showed up and wants you to pay for her food, potentially? Like,
give you an excuse to pay for it. So that kind of puts you in a spot to see where your character of a man at. I love my wife all in all, it ain't like, that kind of see where you at. That's a test in a way to me from what I'm looking at.
It can be. It can be. And I'm glad that you can see that. Yeah. Because here's the thing. She may be in the same place that you're in as far as making the decision that maybe this is the man for me. Right. Right. But how do you guys feel? Because neither one of you guys mentioned her dress code, like her. How do you feel about her changing up all of a sudden, ass out, booty meat? You lean over, it's over with.
Because you overshadowed the question with the restaurant thing to pay. You want to get back to that.
All of it.
I'm just saying that we get back to that. Now that'll be another conversation within itself. I don't know. I'll be trying to that for me, or that's how you really use or trying to figure out that how they come about, or what are you going with that?
Well, have you been on 3 dates with her, right? 3 dates.
That don't mean you still getting to know that person, but they reveal themselves slowly. Sometimes like got layers.
I got layers to it.
So
now the layers coming out.
Now you get more comfortable. You can show you how you really gonna be.
Hold on.
Let me. You really gonna be, but you get what you see sometimes. Sometimes you don't know what you got until you got it.
Okay, I dropped the link.
Like she's been sitting unrepresented, now she's gonna sell herself.
So, let's see. This day and age, you can't take no chances. A woman will sleep with you and treat you like a dog around their friends.
That can be happening. That's true.
So let's say you haven't had sex with her yet. I didn't even think about that. Right. So that's what I'm saying. I don't know if you guys picked up on that. So that's the thing. Women do things to manipulate the possibilities of escalation to different places. So if you've been dating a woman and you've been on, but this is the 4th date with you and this woman. If you look at a typical woman, especially a working woman who has very busy schedule, this is potentially 4 months into the relationship, because availability is tight. Okay. So, and you've been connecting with this woman to the extent where you feel like after these 3 dates, and of course, constant conversation, being in interactions with this woman, you feel like she's potentially the one for you. This one thing could be the mitigating factor for you missing out on your blessing, as so many men tells me when I turn their asses down. I'm sorry, I ain't a believer. But so I think that maybe you guys are missing that. So would you really ghost her?
No, I wouldn't ghost her.
Would you have a conversation about, oh, girl, you look.
I'm feeling that way about it. I gotta see it through them,
So would you end up paying for the friend's meal? Would you have a conversation about the meal? Like for you, what are you gonna say?
I write it off as as it is what it is. I pay for it. I would. Only I wouldn't do it if I had the money.
And if you didn't have the money,
I couldn't pay for it then. That'd be equate to can't do what you ain't got. So how can I?
Yeah, but how would you gauge the conversation? What would you say to the friend then?
I don't know. You unexpected arrival. I would have to help you, but at the time my finance don't allow me to pay for your meal at all. So you welcome shower food. Well, I'll still accompany her.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay. I like that. Anybody else? You guys have some other ways that you would approach the conversation if you were able to pay for her food, or versus if you were not? You said
maybe get her a drink or appetizer. I mean, got be there for the whole meal. You can share a whole meal with us or whatever, you know. So I wouldn't just flat to turn her down.
Mr. Brooks says, I'd rather miss a blessing than invite hell in my life. So from one date, you think that from one date that this could potentially be hell in your life? Like it's one date where her friend shows up.
You know,
so
3 times, the 4th time you into her by now.
Where does the healthy conversation option go away? You see what I'm saying? Like, I feel like what the hell?
He'll go, you know, he'll Halloween.
Really, we'll ghost. He on ghost mode. He ghosts me today.
I am the official urban ghoster.
I'm done. I cannot. Oh God, I can't. I just cannot. So you believe? Would you ghost this woman in this situation? Remember now, I think that you guys are.
Yeah.
You're removing the fact that before this date, you had made your mind up. You want to marry her potentially.
Yeah, I've seen that big butt. Oh, it's over. We're gonna see how they
go. All it is just feelings, nothing more but feelings. Feelings could change.
No.
So, okay. So your feelings for her would change because her friend is now on this date with you guys, or just showed up, should I say? Not necessarily on the date.
That's not the reason why. My feelings would change is because it's coming to the point now where it's a more of a respect thing. At first, you know, she's showing this certain character that she want to portray, and now she's switching everything up. Where now she's wearing a short skirt, which in all our 3 encounters she never did it. And to top it off, we going to a public restaurant. Then all of a sudden, her friend has come out of nowhere and say, "Hey, girl, I didn't know you was gonna be here." Knowing good and well, she knew she was gonna be there. Then on top of that, asking, could I pay for a meal? No, you running game. Y'all running hell of a game. Nope.
But we do it to them too like that. That's what I'm saying. You got to see that growth for me. If I'm into like that, I got to go beyond that part. I can't just end it. It's not working to me right now.
Not at the moment, or would you have a conversation?
I have a conversation after that date about that, but I do the right thing while I'm on that date because my character's in question for me. I don't think it's more of a test and trying to get over.
Yeah, because I do too.
Hey, y'all better than me because once when I recognize game is game, I'm not gonna try to figure it out. I'm not gonna question them. I'm gonna get right up from that table and leave.
I can't call
you gonna go, sir? Go to the bathroom and get out.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, I gotta use the restroom real quick. I'll be right back, and I'll come back and I'll block her number.
Oh man! Even if you said, yeah, that's what I was about to say because you about 4 months in now, and let's say you guys are conducting dating habits like kind of like what I do. With me, I don't have sex while I'm dating. So
I'm going to get how long?
Yeah, if it was the first day, I would agree with you on that, on the ghosting. But considering you're about 4 months in, 4th date tactics, you made your mind up that you want to potentially marry this person.
I got one better than that.
I think I would have a conversation.
I wouldn't.
You wouldn't?
I'm thinking you set me up for later on for me. You get to get on the call. She's gonna approve what you're gonna
right.
Do, you know. So
right.
I'm looking at it like from that equation for me.
So you wouldn't think like that? Like maybe the friend is here just to see.
You get her to approve it.
No, just like I say, it'll be different if we're at a gathering. Like say for example, hey, I'm having a gathering at my house. You want to come over? And my friends is gonna be there. That would be a great opportunity to vet me versus me. We already have the understanding that me and you are going out on a date by ourselves, not no one else. Then your friend just so happened showed up at the exact place where we at the exact time, saying that she lost her wallet. No, you run a game. So you already made the choice and decision to do this. So I'm gonna make the choice and decision to ghost you because I'm not here for the games. I don't care how long we've been talking. I don't care if we passed the 90 days or whatever, because we should be already past the point of establishing great communication between each other, period.
So that's what I'm saying. So you're at the table. Let me get back to the conversation. To the situation. You're at the table, right? and you're engaged in a conversation. Again, a point of contention for you that is keeping you vetted, keeping you engaged, is that she has great conversation. She's beautiful. You have great energy, great chemistry with her, all of these things. And you've been dating, if you're on the fourth date, potentially 4 months or so. Mm-hmm. So you have made your mind up prior to this date today, and which is why you invited her, that potentially you want to move into something more seriously. And therefore you are looking at a serious relationship that yields the potential for marriage. And so now you're ready to move into a relationship with her. And that's what the purpose of this date is. So now, while on this date, you're having great conversation again. And while having great conversation, you see her temporarily distracted, looking towards a corner over your shoulder. And you're like, well, what are you looking at? And she's like, oh, okay, my girl just texted me. She was down the street. She lost her keys. And she knew that we were on a date in the area. So she comes to the table, blah, blah, blah. Hey, Rob, this is Chanel, right? Chanel, this is Rob. Nice to meet you, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I was doing this, blah, 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 and I lost my keys. I lost my wallet. I have my keys actually in my phone, but I don't know where I left my wallet. I was going through, what is that thing they have in Atlanta? Atlanta Bar Hop. I think that's what they call it. That's like when there are a string of restaurants and stuff like that, different streets, but people go from bar to bar to bar. You pay one set price and you can go to all the different bars and drink for free. So she doesn't know where she left her wallet. Okay. Now she's in this restaurant with you and she's at the table and she was like, well, I would love to order something, but I don't have my wallet. So why not just have a conversation and say, hey, I really feel like we're vibing, but this is kind of a party for two because we were already on a date. And I understand if you want to be here for your friend, we can reschedule. And, having that conversation says to me that we're still having an adequate level of engagement. The dress says to me that potentially the woman is ready to take things to the next level, and she's trying to let you make your move. She's inviting you to make a move on her because she's now dressed more sexually provocative to get your attention. Right.
Yeah, and that's the reason why I didn't mention nothing about the dress, because that was already understood.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's different if I already know her friend. She didn't talk about her friend all the time. I knew her, and potentially within 90 days, more than likely, I'm going to meet her friend before this particular situation. So if that be the case, and I met her friend prior before this situation, and that situation were to happen, then yeah, absolutely. Like, hey, you're in a situation, that's fine. If you want to eat, that's fine, because I know you now. Versus I never met you a day before your life and you just so happen pull up on that date and say, oh, I just lost my keys. I lost my wallet. Can you give me something to eat? No. It ain't happening that way.
You don't have to get her anything.
And the friend running
the conversation though.
I would have it both ways.
Nope. And she already on the strip prior, getting drinks and stuff. So no, don't play with me like that. And she know about it too now. She just lost a potentially good man for acting up. So yeah, I'll excuse myself to the restroom
and go
delete her number and go on my own separate way. I'll probably go up on the one strip myself and go get some drinks.
No, Mr. Brooks. It's never happened to me, but I've heard it. I've heard that it happened to a couple of people before. So I think it's more common than not, especially here in Atlanta, because they got so many things. But also because there are no hard boundaries for friends and these relationships with women that are single and have been single for a long time. So, but also there's a high amount of curiosity. So women happen to be very secretive, especially when you're talking about dating a different index of women. So professional women, we're a little different when it comes to dating, especially when we're really serious about a dude. Like we finally start getting some disclosures out there. So people start to know that you're seriously dating this person and you have the potential to move into a relationship, but they never will know that because they've seen you single for so long and you've protected that space for so long. For us, it's about being sure that he's the one to allow that an interruption in that space, right? So dating people, that's one thing, but moving into a full-on relationship, that's a whole different ball game. So while we're dating, you're not meeting my friends, you're not meeting my coworkers, you're not meeting my nothing. When I make my mind up that we're moving it to the next level, men do control access to relationships. That's the truth. So when I'm positioning myself for us to be something more serious coming from you, then I would like to kind of know my friends way in prior to getting there. But I've already in my mind, I've discerned that you're the guy, right? So if my friend is in that space and in that area, and I may have mentioned, hey, I'm gonna be on a date, right? Not details or whatever. And they're like, what? You on a date? Blah, blah, blah. Don't worry, it's not that big of a deal, blah, blah, blah. You try to downplay it. Your friend's going to find a damn way to intervene, to be there. That's the first thing. Now, for me, because I am so private, I'm not telling that motherfucker. You're not going to know I'm on a date. You're not going to know I'm anywhere because it ain't your business. I'm unavailable. That's what I am. Because I know how my friends are.
Yeah, that never happened to me ever in my life.
Really?
That scenario that she's talking about. Yeah, for us, like the friend trying to just pull up when they know you on a date and they try to pull it. That never happened to me a day before in my life. Never, ever.
It's interesting because it just happened to a person I was talking to yesterday, to him, and he's in Atlanta though. So I think it depends on where you are. But I think when it happened to him, it happened to him in a different way because that was a first date, first of all. And to me, I could see the indicators, the clear indicators that he was being set up, because like women sometimes will play that game. But if it's if you're 4 months in and then all of a sudden you have made a decision that she's the one, and all of a sudden she shows up with a whole different physical demeanor asking you to basically woo me, that's saying that I'm ready. I'm ready. You're ready. We're ready. Right. That's that manipulation.
Well, my experience has been different though. Within the 90-day period, every person that I ever went out on a date with, I not have met their friends before. Not because I manipulate the situation, anything like that. It is part of my character, how the way I am, and how the way I carry myself, where the woman becomes more open to want to share different as you're saying, different aspects of their personal life or their personal space with me. And that's what they did. If I didn't meet their friends, they're more than likely will talk about them and say certain things about them. So when we finally meet, I already know a lot about them based on the conversations that we had about them. So you pull up, oh, hey, this is Melissa. Oh, hey, Melissa, what's up with it? Told me a lot about you. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, I'm not saying like you don't know about them, but you won't be meeting them. So for me, unless you are something serious, because here's the thing. I'll say, okay, so you've met this girl's friend, that girl's friend, those girls' friends, and then you ended up being nothing, essentially.
Yeah.
So it's too many. You made too many imprints on family and stuff. Then
I got more time than
right.
Yeah, that's the same concept with when women with children or men with children. It's the same.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
Friends, about them, but you probably won't meet them, but you'll know. Yeah.
So my thing is, with her showing up, you would ghost the woman, even though you made this discernment that she's the one. You're gonna ghost her and walk out on the situation instead of having a conversation first. For sure,
I sure will, because at that point I feel like she's running game, because within our 90 days we done had all different type of conversations. We done vetted each other left, right, up and down and everything. So we should know the basic foundations of each other, especially our certain behavioral habits too. And for this situation that happened, and I'm caught off guard about it, and I don't know nothing about this friend, and then on top of that, the friend had the audacity to try to get her on free meal out of this too. Nope, I would be
So,
just like this ghost on this thing right now. I would disappear.
good God, Houdini. Okay, so yes, Mr. Brooks, I don't believe in having sex while dating. I'm a person who believes in investing in sex. Sex and marriage are synonymous for me. So, and marriage is, I think when we go, I got a whole nother thingy out here for that. But for me, it kind of goes along with this higher power discussions. So for me, I feel like spirituality has a lot to do with the way that I govern myself in my life. And so I feel like you draw the right types of energy into your energy center when you're aligning yourself properly with your higher purpose and power. So marriage is an idea more so than it is a legal construct for me. And so if I have spiritually aligned myself with a person and I feel like that's the person that I want to be with, we're going to be together and I'm invested in that person. And everyone that I start off with, they know that I intentionally date. I don't date just to be dating. I'm not out here. I got better shit to do with my time. So if I am dating and I've never had a dude that felt pressured, but at the same time, when I think about it, reflect on it, I've never had a guy that didn't propose after 3 days, probably less, but still, because that's you. If I'm dating a dude, that's a lot of time invested because it's hard for me to map out time for dates. But if we've been talking to each other, investing in one another, conversationally wise and otherwise, because I'm a woman who, if I'm cooking for me, I'm cooking for you, right? And if you're sick, and I know you're sick, then I'm gonna make sure I take care of you. Those kinds of things. So for me, all of that time invested, by the time we get to 4 days, I don't think that would be an option for a man. But I don't know. Because I'm a person that ends stuff real quickly. So I don't play games, and I think people know that when they're dating me, but women like me are quite the same. We have the same ideals when it comes to the way we look at relationships and the investment thing. So if we're together and we've made that decision to be together and move to the next level, if we're in a relationship and we're engaged, married, blah, 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 sex will definitely be a part of the equation more than likely, because then I feel compelled to give myself to you, right? But while I'm dating, hell no. I could be dating you today and then drop you tomorrow. Then all of that energy you shared with me through all of those transferences of different soul ties you've had in your life, I don't want it. No, especially in America. Men get around. I got a lot of mouths. So I'm just saying. Like, it's a common thing to just have sex. Sex is a part of dating for people. Like, you got to have sex. Half of the time they have sex before they go out to eat and talk. Nobody knows anybody's disease stats, health history, sexual health history, any of that stuff.
What's good going to the dealership and looking at the car without test driving the car, see if it's going to do what it need to do?
Test driving the car is the dating process. Because in a relationship, even though sex is a huge point of contention for a lot of people, at the end of the day, longitudinally, because marriage is about longevity, it's about investments. And longitudinally, you can't benefit from sex in a relationship. When you're 80 years old, 90 years old, and your dick's not working anymore, and your tongue too slow.
Oh, you think so?
It's
hey, Brooks, don't be doing that. Don't be doing that. Blowing her head up like that.
What he say? This is
Don't be blowing her head up like that. Come on, man. Come
Oh
on, man.
goodness. I mean, I do all right. I do all right. He all right. He do all right. He does a very good job of containing himself, you know. But producers kind of, you know, he out there too now. He looking. I'm looking. So, but so I think that when you have your if you have your mindset and you have your spiritual energy in proper alignment, I think that you find yourself with the right type of people, the right type of energy. Um, and you don't find yourself making poor investments in the wrong types of soul ties. And I think that in America, sex, even though you guys think that sex is a huge component to longevity in a relationship, it really isn't. And I think you find that out too late down the road. And then that's why your relationships are struggling because sex won't do it. It's not about love either. You guys think that, oh, I love this person. I love. What happens when you find out that you love and you hate that person at the same time? Because that's a part of life too. You develop. There is a thin line between love and hate because hate is congruent with pain. Sometimes the people that you're in a relationship with cause you a significant amount of pain. You don't like them in those moments, and even though hate is a very strong word, it's a very real emotional response to underlying emotions. You understand what I'm saying? Primary emotions. And so we only have two primary emotions. It's only contentment and pain. So which one are you feeling? If you're feeling pain, it's very easy to have the feeling of hatred towards that person that caused it, even if they didn't do so intentionally. And it's a lot of different things, a lot of different betrayals and relationships where people can lead people to hate you. So I think that a lot of people think about love being that point that keeps things together, but it isn't. It's about pragmatics. That's what keeps relationships together. It's about what makes sense longitudinally, a return on your investment, the outcome. That's why people are married. You're married because you want to make sure that you're having a companion for life, a person that you can go to and trust their feedback, trust their knowledge, trust and have support, right? Through your difficult times, a person that, regardless of how they may feel about you, they will never divest from you.
Mm. Well, my perspective on what you're talking about. Well, first of all, let me say this. I absolutely agree with what you're saying. That everything have to be balanced because at the end of the day, it's all part of the evolution of the human experience. But however, well, what I learned is that the reason why people approach the love concept only is because it's the easier path to take versus understanding the pragmatics of it, of everything, meaning that everything is balanced. There's a yin and a yang for everything, but it's good because it makes a center, it makes everything whole. So the love concept is an easier path for people to take because they don't have to deal with a lot of accountability on it. All they got to do is focus on the goodness of it and the goodness of the energy behind it, you know. But once, just like you say, once when they deal with the point of hate or deal with the point of being disappointed or any of these said emotions, then it's hard for people to cope with that.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. Like, if you focus on the love and you think that that's going to keep you through, love will make you placate and vacate what you feel. And when you are invalidating yourself, when you find out, because eventually you got to wake up, that's the thing. And when you find that the reason that you did it is for love, and love don't keep relationships, love don't keep that person from stepping out, love doesn't keep that person from doing that thing or talking about you behind your back or siding with his mother or siding with his friend or whatever it is, you know what I mean? Those things that people sometimes are is small to us when we think about it, but when we're in the mess, when we're in the dance, when we're in the storm, it makes it extremely hard for us to continue to be peaceful in that space. So if you're in that space and you feel so heavily, that pain, and that pain turns into hate, love is not going to keep you there. It's going to have to be something else that's going to anchor you to the relationship. And although you talk about balance, in a relationship, we're striving for balance due to commitment. Commitment is the pragmatic schema that keeps relationships together for the long haul. So our commitment to our vows to stay through the good and the bad, right? To stay our course, to commit to doing this particular, whatever that thing is, because some folks write their own vows, for us to stay our course, that's what will keep us in that dance longitudinally. So it's not sex, even though people think that that's a very important thing. It just isn't, because all the time, and the only thing that is for certain is that your sexual organs will not work for a lifetime. They won't. They will divest from you. You will divest from them, because it's too many other things, mitigating factors, that will affect that performance component. It's too many things that can influence that. And prematurely, you can have a car accident. It's so many things. And that's a high propensity for that. That's the highest propensity, right? But you could also go through health issues when you start to get kind of up in age that make it impossible for you to be able to use sexual enhancement drugs, right? Also, women are in relationships and with men, and sex is never what draws women into a relationship and keeps women in a relationship, because men will never be able to really satisfy a woman's needs. My dog is just
Hey, Dr. J, hey, Dr. J, I'm gonna have to go ahead and step on off. Hey, I appreciate you inviting me up, allow me to share my perspective with you. Producer, you're cool dude, bro. I appreciate you as well.
He just left out to grab a package, but I'll let him know when he gets back. So appreciate you coming on and sharing your perspective. And even though you're gonna divest and ghost her, some man needs to hear that that's okay, because sometimes it is okay to completely divest and to leave a woman there, because there are many women who present, like I said, with toxic femininity, and they do play games, because just like I was telling you about that conversation, in that situation that I had with him, his experience, I totally agreed with him. And I told him, I was like, man, you are so much better than me. Because I would have been out the first moment, and women do take a long time in the bathroom at clubs. I would have been out the moment her friend came to the previous spot. She would not have gone on to another club with me. I wouldn't have spent $1 on anything for her. So it's just, for me, I think men go through a lot trying to find the right woman, but I think that you guys have to learn how to communicate better if you really feel like you found the right woman, because at least in his situation, he hadn't made a decision that he'd found the right woman, because he wasn't on a date. He wasn't on a date with the intention of marriage. He was on a date that was just trying to get to know the girl that he was going to take to a concert with him. So, it's different. Then I approve of ghosting.
You know what, Dr. J, before I step down, maybe we need to do that. Probably need to do it on the show, talking about communication and the reason why men struggle with various forms of communication with a woman. That'd probably be a good topic.
Yeah. I think that we do need to. Thank you, Tammy. Thank you. I think that, but wait, let me let the official urban therapist tell you guys where to catch him, because he also has a platform on social media here.
I am Casper, the official urban therapist ghost.
I'm done.
You can find me on YouTube as the official urban therapist, and also you can find me on all social media platforms. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'm on TikTok now. While I'm on TikTok, I have no idea, but I'm on that as well. I now have my podcast platform on Anchor FM, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, All these different places where you can find me. So I guarantee if you Google me up, you're gonna find me. Appreciate you.
Amazing.
Like, subscribing, sharing. Also, please continue to like Dr. Jefferson discussions as well, because she be having some great content. Follow her, get her views up. She's trying to get to 1,000. I cannot allow her to beat me by the end of this year, but I'm a fair guy, so.
Definitely. Yeah, you guys continue to follow me, and I think I got some interesting connections coming up here recently that I made. And I'm looking forward to doing those interviews. I don't know how many of you follow Stephen Speaks, but we'll be having some engaging conversation in the weeks to come.
Oh, it's different.
So,
Hey, that's what's up.
I'm really excited about that, and I have a couple of other partnerships that I've kind of created that I'm going to be bringing to the platform as well. So I got a feeling that I'm definitely going to meet that goal and surpass that goal, but I'm looking forward to having more panels and inviting more people and perspectives to this panel to have some very difficult conversations around connectivity, relationships, and the discord that's happening right now in the Black and Brown community. So
Oh
yeah.
yeah. Hey, producer Ron, I got to jump down but hey, do you mind putting my page information in the chat for me? Just kind of copy it and paste it and throw it there where people find me. Or I might do it later after this video.
If you put it on there, I'm gonna do it.
He said if you put it on there, he'll copy it and put it on there.
Oh,
Can you type it from there?
hold on, I'll do it.
Yeah, because he needs a direct link. That way they can have a direct link to the page.
Hold on, give me a second. I'll do it. I just have to pull my phone out real quick.
Okay.
But yeah, you can talk about it, do this.
But so, Tammy, I was reading some of the comments. Mr. Brooks said, I got Viagra, right? I'm so done. But yeah, Mike, I agree. Connectivity over sex is a huge component. I think that, and that's one of the things that can help relationships thrive in the here and now, because a lot of people are divesting from relationships as a result of them not being able to adequately connect in communication attempts. And when I say people, I mean men with women. And they feel like, okay, well, if I get another person, or if I start having more sex, you know what I mean? These kinds of things, if I get another woman, this woman is going to give me enough validation. But nobody will ever give you the validation you need in order for you to be a viable component in a relationship with a woman. If you struggled with constantly being emasculated, you've struggled with constantly coming into a congruent sense of self, if you struggled with communicating in general. So the issue in the Black community, the increase in violence, all of these things that we've talked about today are a result of inadequate communication patterns, inadequate moments and lines of dealing with rejection. And I think that we have to be people that are committed to resolving that issue. So doesn't matter what it is that you do, women have to be a little more compassionate, a little more. When it comes to rejecting men have to be a little more compassionate when it comes to
accepting rejection.
Yeah. But I think women have to do a better job at rejecting men, and men have to do a better job at rejecting women. Like, we've got to do a better job of being honest with one another about the incongruence we find ourselves constantly coming up to.
That's why they'll ghost you. They don't know how to talk about that.
Right.
So they will ghost you on that note. That's the word they can think of.
Because they don't know what to say. Yeah. Just say, hey, hey, lady, you're beautiful. It's being real. Good date.
Your argument, you go the wrong way, so you just don't have no way to go out of sight, out of mind,
And I was thinking about doing it via text, but I think text messages cause women to feel, I don't know, away. So I think call a woman and just say it over the phone. Don't do it in person, because it can get violent.
Way to go. That has to be a conversation you don't want to have sometimes. So people just.
Oh, you seen it?
That's why I'll go more for the situation too.
Says, well, we know you ghost and get cursed out. The producer got a 10-page letter after ghosting a woman. In a minute, I want to know, and I think that he should be really looking into that, because thing is, like, you get ghost and then receive a 10-page. How did she get your address if you didn't give her? I think you gotta ask a lot of tough questions. Then, like, wait, she know where I live. Public information, my ass. Like, let me.
You can background search that shit.
Yeah, but you can unregister. You know how I am. Every address, every property I own, I make sure I. You better protect yourself. These women doing things out here.
Who you telling?
But says, well, we know. Let's go back to Tammy's comment. We know people of color are the only ones that are going to have those difficult conversations. So some of us won't even speak up.
That's what I'm saying. We won't speak up.
I agree.
We don't speak up. But most time men would just.
I agree.
Black women have no say quote unquote have an attitude anyway, so we ain't trying to do that.
Why do you think that black people have an attitude anyway? But I do think that's true.
That's to say it.
No, it's true though. I think that black people have vicarious traumas that we have been conditioned to hold on to. And those have a lot to do with the way that we interact with people, because we feel like we need to see something else from other people in order for us to move to a place of peaceful interactions with them, because we naturally think that everybody has it out for us, especially when we're talking about white people and stuff like that, because we think that they have prejudice before they show us anything. And I think that that's something that we've got to work on. Girl, yeah, he was talking about getting some Viagra. What he doing? Mm-hmm. So I'm doing like Umar and get to. So you're going to need more than Viagra to satisfy the needs of a woman. Like, women have more than just sexual needs, physical sexual needs when it comes to sexual satisfaction and gratification. It's so much bigger than that stuff that's on the surface. So that's why I tell men, like, you know, that come in for sex therapy, you got to really get ready to put work in if you're getting to that point. You know what I'm saying? So says personal info is on the computer and available easily.
Yeah, why is it too easy?
To some extent.
You got to get your life expunged.
No, I think, you know, it's all in who you know and stuff, you know.
When I heard one of most of them, that was a good deal.
Said they do, but it's not an attitude. We are not angry. Why do we say that? I don't know if it's anger. I think it's vicarious trauma responses. You know? If you're sorry, don't work. They say why this soft is ninja. Let that bit wake your ass.
I'm just telling you what they call. You want me to look up.
Oh, God.
You're right. You can look up in the Bible.
Tired of being tired, disappointed at just being disappointed. I think there is some validity in that statement, Tammy, for sure. I think that we have been people, but that's still vicarious, right? If we're thinking about it, if we're tracing it. You wouldn't have known that your people have been disappointed if nobody ever told you that your people were disappointed. And I think that we celebrate our disappointments more so than we celebrate and expound on our achievements. And that contributes to that negative component, you know. So who do you want to look up? I mean,
didn't see that coming.
You know, you gotta have federal clearances, okay? I'm just gonna put it out there, Tammy. You gotta know the right people. You gotta have the right clearances, but also I think that sometimes you can. I don't know. You know what? I'll have to ask. I have to ask McCarthy because he might be able to tell me, because I think there is ways for civilians to contact us as well and get their information expunged or taken off.
Public information thing, when it's public asset, you can't. You can sue somebody but not get denied the information. I mean, you know, if it's out there, they can have asset to it.
Says, why can't it be determined, passionate, goal oriented? I feel like we do have to be people that are more determined.
It might escalate if I responded back to it. It might have turned into something else, but I wasn't gonna do that.
You think so?
I mean, 10 pages. Of course, I think it was all kind of man. I was not gonna respond to that.
10 pages. She wouldn't have got me to read past page 1. You know, my attention span is very short for.
Yeah, my next dog was just hilarious.
I cannot. I don't think women got to stop. Let me tell you something, women. My last note on rejection is this: if a man rejects you, ghosts you, whatever he does, I don't agree with the inadequate communication patterns when it comes to discord of men. But I will say this: if they reject you, find a space to go into to where you're doing some personal self-reflection and trying to figure out how you can properly align yourself with men that are like him if he's the type of man that you've decided that you did want in your life and he didn't want you for whatever reason. And then also ask the tough questions. You know, what is it about me, my personality, my whatever, right? What was the main thing that told you that we weren't a good fit? Right? What was your non-negotiable, your inflexible component that you recognized that I possessed? Right? And ask yourself, is this something that I can live without in my life? If it is something you can live without and you feel like it is something that's important because it was important to him, start thinking about how you can make some changes in your life, right? But we don't always, I'm not saying for you to cultivate yourself according to the expectations of another person, but I'm asking you to do some self-exploration that's guided by feedback you got from another person that you can use to be a means of healthy reconstruction of self, right? So,
you gotta keep it in validity with what they're saying.
Well, it doesn't have to have validity for you, but it can be something that you can take under consideration that could improve you. So these are my socially distant dating techniques as we're wrapping up the video. I feel like you guys can make viable connections if you continue to do things that I mentioned before, allow you to align yourself with the person that once you do meet them in person, they are similar to what you saw online.
Like your friend named Frank. That's that's a good example. Ain't nothing.
Stop name dropping. They can hear you. Some people have a more difficult time finding the right person to date because they are physically unfortunate. I will say that. Not everybody is beautiful.
Have a conversation that gets you well.
I don't say mentally incompetent to have a conversation. Sometimes we're socially.
Like the person. Everybody cannot dislike the same person for the same reason.
Some people are socially inept. And some people don't have a really good personality that resonates with the people around them.
He don't know how to even, he can't, like you say, gauge that. He try to fix it, to evaluate it in a rational term of, he's just not going to be out there. He's going to stay right there. He don't see nothing wrong with what he's doing. He think he's right.
Because he struggles with a personality disorder. So people that struggle with personality disorders, if you do find that many people are rejecting you on the same premise and you don't feel like there is zero validity.
That's what I'm talking about.
Right? I will say this. You need to find yourself a good therapist and explore with a therapist the things that people are telling you, right, about you that you don't feel like you agree with. And because see what happens is, well, even if it's looks and personality, if you don't agree with something and you're constantly getting the same feedback from 50, 100 of people, right? Have a conversation with a therapist and find out whether or not you're avoiding facing truths about yourself, and find out ways that could be meaningful for you to discover your deeper truth, passion, purpose, and, true self, I guess, in your journey. So let me see. Says, I'm an expert on personality disorder and it is underdiagnosed. Oh, yes. I agree. I specialize in treating personality disorders as well. Said, I'm ugly, but I got so much going on. Boy, look. A mess.
Man,
People with personality disorders don't go to therapy. I think that's a misconceptualization. Like I have a lot, a huge client population that struggle with personality disorder. But I will say this: I do, I do get from their self-report that they just never knew that personality disorders were a thing, and until people started calling them a narcissist. And I feel like the word narcissist gets overused, for one. For two, people are not their personality disorders. And for three, a narcissistic personality disorder characteristics seem to be the number one thing that lead people into therapy, where they get an adequate diagnosis of a personality disorder or borderline personality disorder with mixed features of anxiety and depression, because that's kind of how they do when they go into their, seats of isolation and self-harm and stuff like that. But it is what it is. And some people have a combination of personality disorders. You can have co-occurring personality disorders. They can both be a thing for you. But I think that when you get the right type of help, when you're asking the right type of people, the right type of questions, because therapists are an external view and we're only taking your own self-report about your experiences in the various different domains of your life, we can see clearly into what's going on and what you're dealing with. And if you call a thing, you can get a resolution. Says we have not called it out, and narcissist is underdiagnosed because we call it bipolar. I don't see how narcissistic personality disorder and bipolar disorder can be mixed diagnosed. Says the co-occurring ones come to therapy. I do feel like there are some, the comorbid disorders with substance use for sure. Says I don't either, but it is. Yeah, I don't see how they could. What I've seen bipolar disorder misdiagnosis to be more congruent with is borderline personality disorder because of the mood disorder, mood incongruent component. And just because people are so quick to focus on the symptom presentation of moods before they're able to focus on common items that indicate history of trauma, that would show you that the real issue is insecure relationships and incongruence of self, which would lead to the borderline diagnosis. I don't know. I feel like some of the best things that you can do to avoid being catfish on social media when you're doing social distance dating would be for you to require a person to use a video system that doesn't allow filters. So I said WhatsApp because WhatsApp will not allow you to put filters on there. And if it does, I'm out of ideas. Okay. But I think that WhatsApp is the one that you can't do filters at all. I'm a person that doesn't use filters at all. So it's really hard for me to find, because I use a lot of different video apps. But I can't imagine how people sometimes will find a way when there is no way, right? Yeah, but mood presentation and narcissistic personality disorder, people, they don't struggle. That's not a common feature of narcissistic personality disorder. It just isn't. Mood incongruence, isn't it? They're not hypersensitive in that way with the highs and lows, which is why the highs and lows and hypersensitivity would align more with a disorder misdiagnosis of bipolar and borderline. So that's so hard. That's hard for me to see how they can get that one misdiagnosed. Oh, you're talking about people that are not clinical. Oh, street diagnosers. The Google, the interneters. Good God. Girl, that's a whole nother thing. Everybody's bipolar, if that's the case. Because they always say everybody's bipolar.
People claim to be bipolar.
Yeah, bipolar and narcissist.
That's a freak.
They are like, that's the only thing that exists.
I'm bipolar.
You know? But I think people got to do a better job. So I think people need to stop self-diagnosing, period. Just go to a therapist. but so I think that WhatsApp is a viable option. I would say Google Duo, but I think Google Duo now allows you to do filters. Also, if you guys are into distant options for dating, I think that you guys could always send a person the meals. You guys can use Amazon. And I don't get paid by Amazon for marketing their products. I want to make sure I say that. And I wouldn't be marketing them, but I think that that's the cheapest way for you to send people really good quality food to cook, and you guys have the same order. So, and Prime can offer same day, 2-hour window delivery. That's the other part. So use Amazon to ship the meal that you guys are going to cook in your separate spaces with each other. Be on video. Get you a nice little board game or a card connection game. I personally love these little cards. I use them sometimes with my patients that are in groups. These right here, you guys, called Our Moments. Hope you guys can see it. Yeah, there we go. So Our Moments, they have man, when I say they got some great conversation starters, they have some great conversation starters. And you can find them on, I think, Amazon. You can get them delivered from Amazon as well, I believe, and order everything direct. But you guys can order them from Amazon, and you can, just one person can get the deck. You don't have to both get the deck. And you can share it on the screen, whatever the question is. They have families, they have couples, they have teens. They have, Our Moments cards that are made for each specific situation. This is one that is families. It says, what makes our family special, right? It comes with different, he said Uber Eats. Yes, for the people that cannot cook, use Uber Eats, because I do not suggest you burning up your kitchen trying to be on a socially distant date. But cooking is something that can increase companionship. This is the families one, though. I want one of the couples one. Out of the couples box. I can't find it right now. But this is another families example, you guys. And I think this will be good for couples too. And it says, what was the most difficult transition you've experienced in your lifetime? I think that sharing in these experiences, sharing in these conversations, allow for more connectivity on socially distant dates. And if you don't know what to ask a person, it could definitely help you connect and increase the propensity of coming and stepping into a place of more viable conversation that leads to longitudinal connection. So and make sure that you have your camera far enough back. I know a lot of you guys hear me giving Kevin Samuels a lot of flack for all of his BS, but I think that one of the things that he says, ma'am, your camera's too shaky. You're too close to the camera. I think those things are really good points to remember, because if you put the camera far enough back, you can actually see what a person kind of looks like. You can get a good feel for what their body shape is like, so you don't get any surprises there, and no men have to worry about ghosting anybody or women, because I know that men point to women all the time, and you guys talk about women catfishing, but men, y'all catfish too. God, y'all do. Y'all be a whole nother person, sent a woman whole different pictures than what they are. And I'm talking about personal experience now. You send a whole nother person's picture to a woman, you show up and you look a little short black oompa loompa with bald head. But no, seriously, it does happen though. Men do catfish, so women need to see what you look like too. They need to see what your personal space looks like so they can know kind of like what maybe some of your bad habits are. And that's one of the things that I think can be really good about social distance dates once you kind of get down into it, right? And this is just only if you're quarantining. But if you're not quarantining, go out into public spaces and, meet with people socially distant, but in your own space where you're at a table by yourself and they're at their own space at a table by themselves and you guys are talking. But so do that. You can also have a joint movie shared experience. I think you can share movies via Zoom on your computer. You guys can play board games. It's a lot of things that you can do. I don't want to say don't do drugs, okay? I don't want to have to say it, but please try to not do drugs together. Don't send any drug packages to each other. You guys can play is it that Hangman? Pictionary, charade,
Give each other to your place.
Yeah. Look, there you go. Tammy said it. They show up with a different career, car, house, friends, all that. Everything. Mr. Brooks said, let's go to his comment. I cook better than most women that could clean house. Seafood, pasta, and bath and body candles make Miss Kitty feel comfortable. Good God, I cannot. I mean, it's a lot of things that you can do. I think that making candles is a great thing that you can do on a socially distant dating experience. So if a man is inviting a woman on a socially distant date, you guys can send her a candle making kit with the candle wax material and all that stuff. You can send that to her. You can order that on Amazon. Like, I'm doing a lot of promotion for Amazon. They're going to need to pay me for my promotions, but they do have the best pricing on things like that, Let's see what Tammy's other comment is. Bank account, turns out they cousin been answering their questions. No, their cousin can't answer their questions if you guys are playing the moment stuff. If you guys are doing a socially distant date, then technically they're putting the questions up on the screen and sharing the screen with you. And then you guys are both having a moment to reflect on what's coming from that conversation. Also, what I say is only one person answered the card. Like, don't answer the same card. Get another card. So, for example, let's say the producer and I were playing the game, and yeah, do type fast. So, for example, if we were playing the game, both of us playing the game, if I pulled this card, then I would ask him, what was the most difficult transition you've experienced in your lifetime? And then he would answer the question. We would put it on a separate pile so we don't bring up the same question again anytime soon. And then this question, he would ask me, what's the question again?
What makes our family special?
What makes our family special? But it would be a couples one. You would get the couples deck, not the family. And then I would answer that question. And so we would continue the dialogue you continue the dialogue until they're done answering. And you kind of say, wow, so I get this from what you're saying. And I'm glad that you felt comfortable sharing whatever, with me, or how was that for you? You can expand on what's on the card. So that's why it's a conversation starter, right? But so those are my tips. I think that in wrapping up, I think you guys have to learn how to be more permissive with yourself. You guys have to be more honest with yourself about the inadequacies that need to be addressed in our community. The crime that is increased, that is going on, the things that we've seen in the last 72 hours in New York are an atrocity. and the Black and Brown community are responsible for acknowledging the things that happen in our community that need to be addressed. We need to do a better job at addressing those things. Conflict resolution, I think, is where it starts. We need to be teaching our children better means of accepting accountability for their actions, but also better means of resolving conflict, right? Stepping into a place to where it's safe for people to communicate whatever they feel about the disagreement that you guys are in. And says most difficult transition and meeting is meeting me. That was the most difficult transition you ever went through in your life?
That's one of the more difficult. When you first meet you, it's a transition.
It is?
It's a life changer.
What does that mean? What does that mean?
It's a life changer.
Changed your life?
Yep.
What kind of energy were you feeling?
Different than I've felt my whole life.
Oh, that makes me feel special. But so, in finishing up my final thoughts, we got to be people that call a thing, right? So in resonating some of these things with our inner spirit or our inner components of what we feel like our purpose is and our society and what we owe our society. If it resonates, then we feel compelled to change those things. And if we are honest with ourselves, we see that our young people are dying at insurmountable numbers right now, and we are dying at our own hand. So we see that if there is a need to start policing the streets and start removing gangs, and if we are the people who are involved in gang activity, we have to be okay with police doing best practices at work to decrease crime. The crime index is ridiculous. People are dying at ridiculous numbers from being shot as a result of disputes that start as just oral disagreements and then escalate to physical disputes. Our women need more guidance in a huge way. In a huge way. My heart, my thought, my reflections and positive vibes and positive energy and healing energy goes out to the family, all of the families of those involved in those shootings that occurred over the last 72 hours where they lost family members or now they have to navigate life after their family member has survived from being shot. Retaliatory practices are something that we know is a norm in our culture, and we need to address that too. But my heart especially goes out to the family of the young woman who was pregnant and shot and killed over the weekend. I think that this has gone too far. It makes it difficult for our men to protect us women if we are out of pocket, so to speak. We've got to learn that picking up the phone and calling the authorities and allowing the authority to deal with those things that are out of our capacity to deal with, which are situations where people are involved in physical altercations, especially when you're a pregnant woman. You have a responsibility to protect your fetus. So common sense now has to be more common, and maybe we need to start teaching these things to our young women. But we've got to do better. Period. You know, my reflections around the ghosting thing, I just think that we need better means of communicating. I think that the official urban therapist was right. We need to have a conversation around men and communication, right? And the origin of some of their communication deficits. And I spoke to that a bit earlier in this conversation. So if you guys caught this at the end, make sure you rewind and go back to the beginning and catch that discussion around the 5-minute mark or so. But I want to invite you guys to invest in your own emotional congruence. Please seek out therapy. We are a nation that is hurting right now. We are a nation that are undergoing many transitions in our life, and those transitions have been forced upon us due to a pandemic, a nationwide pandemic. Many people are spiraling, and experiencing serious mental distress, emotional distress as a result of not having realigned or first aligned themselves with proper practices in dispute resolution. So that's pretty much all that I have. Let's see. The lady that killed her son over SD card, I pray for the family. Oh my God, that's just terrible. That's terrible. But I think that that speaks to the fact that we are losing this battle to gain ground and gain some level of clarity of our emotional and mental states of being. So I think that the need for help is abundant right now. I think that the clinicians that are out there, I'm praying for, as Tamela Mann's husband said, what's his name, David? I'm praying for the guidance and the structure of the clinicians, the competency of the clinicians to get us through this. Because what I'm noticing is that I become more and more disappointed with Black clinicians as I see more and more stuff that's negative from us. And I know that we have so many Black clinicians that are more than competent. And that's what I'll say to that. But we've got to get our mental health in check, and we've got to get help when we need help, because we cannot be an advocate for adequate emotional and mental congruence if we're not checking our own. So we have to pray for the steady mental state and techniques of the clinicians that are delivering the therapy. And we just got to call a thing a thing. We've got to address these things that are causing these incongruences in our mental and emotional presentation. Says we need to demand a seat at the table, because when we don't, we are on the menu as a side dish. I sometimes think that that's the issue, but I think sometimes it has to do with being the change that we want to see. So if we want to see the police officers deal with our community in a different way, I think that we have to be the people to deal with our community in a different way.
That's all of those.
Yeah. So we have to learn how to have more adequate means of coping with the stress and dealing with our discord. So people don't have to agree with you all the time. People don't have to roll to the beat of your drum, march to the beat of your drum, and do the things that you want them to do all the time. We have to learn how to properly sit with that rejection and sit with people not doing what we want them to do. You know, we just have to learn. You know, let me see. The battle is not lost. We just didn't take it seriously enough. Agreed. I just said that, right? When did we stop receiving? I call it corrective love. Oh my God, girl, look. This one is everything. And I think it has a lot to do with, let me tell you, it has a lot to do with not feeling like we are enough because of those vicarious traumas. I'm telling you, like I've from my having trained so many clinicians in clinical competency and cultural competency, I think that has a lot to do with it. Like it's just so many layers. So you guys go out there and be your best version of yourself. Pray for the people that need prayers. You know, deliver what it is so you can deliver to the people that are in need when they are in need. But more importantly than anything, keep yourself and your energy aligned properly. Learn to call a thing and address the very difficult things that we typically will avoid addressing, like the things that need work within ourselves in order for us to be the best capacity of positive energy in the world around us. On this Motivation Monday, what I want to do is motivate you guys to be the change that you would like to see in others around you. You be the mitigating factor that changes the rest of the world. So that is all that I have. I hope that you guys have a blessed and a productive Monday and you continue your week with the right type of energy. Later days. Bye.
Who alive can't put me in a box. I redefine any definition you got. I am the tiger, I'm making steps to the top. The flames, I rip it up, you just gotta hand me the rock. Take a seat, you cannot stand it. All I know, the flow harder than a Scotch bunny. Don't try studying me, you cannot manage. This ain't what you want, bitch, I'm a fucking phenomenon. This ain't what you want, bitch, I'm a fucking phenomenon.